Furthermore, he revealed that in the vision of Nebuchadnezzar, when he saw that Daniel had made known and demonstrated to Nebuchadnezzar, he saw the statue standing opposite to him in Daniel 2 verse 31, which is the head of the statue of gold, his breast and the arms of silver, his belly and his thigh of brass, its leg and its feet of iron and of clay, in Daniel 2 verse 31 to 33. And Daniel said to Nebuchadnezzar, "You are the head of gold," in Daniel 2 verse 38. Why was he called the head of gold, if not because the word of Jeremiah fulfilled concerning him? For Jeremiah said, "Babylon is a cup of gold in the hand of the Lord, that gives drinks to the whole earth from its wine." In Jeremiah 51 from verse 7, Babylon was also called the head of all kingdoms, as it is written, Babylon was the head of the kingdom of Nimrod, in Genesis 10:10 as well. So he brought another context for us to show from the vision of Nebuchadnezzar, where Daniel explained and demonstrated to Nebuchadnezzar how he beheld the statue standing before him. And then he talked about how a head of gold, arms and breast of silver, bellies of thighs of brass, and then legs of iron and feet made of iron and clay as well. And Daniel explicitly told Nebuchadnezzar that you are the head of gold. And the reason for Nebuchadnezzar being referred to as the head of gold is because of the evidence that were coming from the fulfillment of Jeremiah's prophecies concerning him. And Jeremiah likened Babylon to a golden cup in the hand of the Lord, impacting his influence and dominion over the entire earth. And Babylon was also described as the foremost among kingdoms, as seen in the statement that Babylon was the head of the kingdoms of the earth. So what we see here is this reference to Jeremiah that is bringing each of these prophecies alongside, even with the vision of Daniel as well, as Daniel connects this as well together in speaking to Nebuchadnezzar as well, according to the revelation of the prophecy that was revealed to him by the Lord. And each of these corresponds with the scriptures of Jeremiah and even with the scriptures of Moses from Genesis 10:10 as well. So this is a profound illustration and connectedness of prophecies and historical account meant to convey these various theological facts about the kingdoms of this world as well. So let's see what he says further in this event. He continued by saying, he said that the breasts and the arms of the statue were of silver in Daniel 2 verse 32. And this demonstrated about the kingdom which is more lowly than it, which is that of Darius the Mede, because he, God, set the kingdom in balance. For the kingdom of the house of Nimrod was weighed in the balance and was found lacking. And being found lacking, Darius received it. On account of this, he said that his kingdom was lowly in Daniel 2 from verse 39. And because it was lacking, the kingdom of Mede did not rule over the whole earth. The belly and the thigh of the image were of brass in Daniel 2 verse 32. And he said that the third kingdom shall rule over the whole earth in Daniel 2 from verse 39, which is the kingdom of the children of Javan, who are also the children of Japheth as well. For it was against the kingdom of their brothers that the children of Javan came in, because Meda and Javan are the sons of Japheth in Genesis 10 from verse 2. But Meda was foolish and too deficient to rule the kingdom until his brother Javan came, who was wise and skillful to destroy the kingdom. But Alexander, the son of Philip, ruled over the whole earth. So Aphrahat continues in his explanation of this interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's vision of the statue that Daniel provided to him, providing insights into this historical and genealogical connection between the various kingdoms. The description of the silver breast and the arms that represents the kingdom of Darius the Mede, which succeeded the Babylonian kingdom. The concept of balance is weighed and emphasized as well from his previous kingdom, which was found lacking, resulting in Darius' ascendancy. The subsequent reference to the bronze belly and the thigh pertaining to the third kingdom identify as the kingdom of the children of Javan, the descendant of Japheth as well. The mention of Javan's conflict with their brethren Mida adds a layer of historical narrative to it. The interpretation also draws parallel between these biblical accounts and historical events, particularly regarding the reign of Alexander the Great as well. And he draws this to the statue's belly and thigh of brass that represents the third kingdom, which will eventually have the universal rule according to Daniel's interpretation of the vision of the statues. And this kingdom pertains the descendants of Javan, also known as the children of Japheth, the arrival of the children of Javan against the kingdom of their own king as well. As both Mida and Javan were descendants of Japheth, Mida's incapability and lack of skill prevented him from ruling effectively until his brother Javan, characterized by wisdom and prowess, emerged. Javan's action led to the downfall of the kingdom. This historical context is illustrated by the rule of Alexander the Great, the son of Philip, who achieved the dominion over the entire world as of that time. So let's go on further to see what he said in this demonstration. He continues in his discourse and revealed to us about the legs and the feet. Over here he said, "And the legs and the feet of the statues were of iron," in Daniel 2:33, which is the kingdom of the children of Shem, who are the children of Esau, which is strong as iron. He said, "Just as iron breaks and reduces to powder everything, so also the fourth kingdom shall break and tread underfoot everything," in Daniel 2:40. It, the scripture, explained clearly about the feet and the fingers, that part of them which was of iron, and part of them which was of the potter's clay. For he said, "Thus they shall be mixed with the seed of man. They shall not cleave one to another, as iron does not cleave or mix with stone." Went on further to explain, and he said, "This he demonstrated about the fourth kingdom, for the kingdom of the sons of Esau had no king, or a son of a king existing to govern the kingdom. But when the sons of Esau were gathered together into a strong city and made a senate, from there they appointed the head of the city, a wise man to govern the kingdom, lest when the governor of their kingdom weighed them, they might be found wanting, and the kingdom would be taken away from them, as the kingdom of the sons of the boastful Nimrod was taken away and was given to the sons of the foolish Mida," in Daniel 5 from verse 26 to 28. This king who was appointed was destroying the seed of all that king who was before him, and they did not join together one another, but as regards the seed of the man, which is compared with the clay. The meaning is thus this: as soon as the king was chosen for the kingdom, he mixed himself with the root of the kingdom of irons. Speaking from Daniel 2:41 and 43. So what is he saying here about this fourth kingdom? He reveals the demonstration in relation to the fourth kingdom, how that the kingdom is of the descendants of Esau that lacked a continuous royal lineage or a direct heir to govern their realm. Instead, the sons of Esau united in a fortified city, established a senate. They appointed a wise ruler to rule over the kingdom, ensuring that when their governance was assessed, they would not be found deficient. They aimed to avoid a fate similar to the kingdom of the boastful Nimrod, talking about that of Babylon, which had taken away and was given to the descendant of the Mida as well. This new king, upon his appointment, who pursued the eradication of the lineage of the previous king and did not cooperate with one another as well. Regarding the analogy of the clay mixed with the seed of a man, and the interpretation is as follows: as soon as the king assumes power over the kingdom, he integrated himself with the core of the iron kingdom. So what we see from this analysis of Nebuchadnezzar's vision, specifically focusing on the fourth kingdom, represented by the feet of iron and clay, as he delves into the historical circumstances of the descendants of Esau who lacked a stable royal lineage as well. And then he talks about how the Romans established a senate that led to the appointment of a wise leader who will lead them, aimed at maintaining stability over their kingdom, ensuring that it will not be vulnerable to the kind of downfall that befell that of the kingdom of Babylon, okay, because they didn't have a senate. It was ruled by one man. And the imagery of the clay mixed with the seed of a man is further elucidated and emphasizes on how the new ruler integrated himself with the existing power structure that is available, so that he will not just be a one-man rulership, but it will be a rulership by other integration of powers, talking about a king and a senate working together. Okay, that's what we saw under the Roman Empire. So he went on further to continue in this demonstration of war by saying, and the scripture demonstrated that in the days of those kings who will rise in the kingdom, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which will not be destroyed or pass away forever, in Daniel 2 verse 44. This is the kingdom of Christ the King, which will make the fourth kingdom pass away. And it is said above that you saw a stone which was hewed out, not by hands, and it smote the statue upon his feet of iron and of clay, and broke them to pieces, in Daniel 2:34. And it did not say that it smote the image either on its head, or on the breast or arms, or on the belly or thigh, but on its feet, because from the whole image that stone will come and find only the feet. And it said in the following verses, iron and brass, silver and gold were broken together to pieces, in Daniel 2 from verse 35. For after them, when Christ the King rules, then he will humble the fourth kingdom and will break the whole image. For the image referred to the whole world. His head is Nebuchadnezzar, his breast and arm the king of Mede and Persia, his belly and thigh the king of the Greeks, and its leg and feet the kingdom of the sons of Esau, talking about the Roman Empire now. The stone which smote the image and broke it to pieces, and by which the whole earth was filled, is the kingdom of Christ the King, who will make an end to the kingdom of this world, and he will rule forever and ever. That's amazing. So he began by revealing to us the scripture signified that how in the days of those kings who will rise, there will be a kingdom that will be set up from heaven by God, which will not be destroyed, neither will pass away forever. And this refers to the everlasting kingdom of Christ the King, which will bring about the dissolution of the fourth kingdom. As mentioned earlier, there was a reference to a stone not made by hands or cut down by hands that will struck the feet of the iron and clay, shattering them into pieces. It is also noteworthy that the stone did not strike the image head, the breast or the arms, the belly or the thigh, but specifically targeted its feet. And this underscores that the stone originated from the entire image, okay? Yet it found only the feet. Subsequently, the following verses also review and emphasize it to us that iron, brass, silver and gold were broken together to pieces as well when the stone hit the feet as well. So what we see from these passages is the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's vision that focus on the symbolism of the stone and its impact on the statue's feet. And this passage refers to these prophetic declarations by God, how that he will establish an everlasting kingdom during the reign of earthly kings, okay? And this kingdom represented by the stone that refers to Christ's dominion will ultimately lead to the downfall of human government, talking about the fourth kingdom now, specifically of the stone striking the statue's feet, highlighting the culmination of God's plan in a precise and intentional manner. Remember, he says the times are set by God, okay? The mention of various metals being together broken reinforces the notion that the entire image represents a temporary order subject to divine intervention, okay? That the order of man is temporary. All of the kingdoms of man that have been ruling in this world, right from when he revealed in the case of Nebuchadnezzar, talking about the gold statue, okay, the gold head, down to even the feet of clay and iron as well, where we see the Roman Empire as well. Each of these will come to an end, and then revealing the eventual triumph of Christ's kingdom over earthly power and the establishment of an everlasting reign. Okay, so let's go on further to see what he said on this demonstration. So he went on further to reveal about the four beasts in prophecies of Daniel. Here too, about the vision of the four beasts that Daniel saw as they were coming up from the sea, differing one from the other in Daniel 7 verse 3. This is the vision of them. The first was like a lion and had wings of an eagle. I beheld that his wings were plucked off, and it stood up upon his feet like a man, and the heart of a man was given to it in Daniel 7 verse 4. The second beast was like a bear, and it stood up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between his teeth in Daniel 7 verse 5. And the third beast was like a leopard, and it had 4 wings and 4 heads in Daniel 7 from verse 6 as well. And then the fourth beast was dreadful, mighty, and exceedingly strong, and it had huge teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces, and it stamped with his feet whatever remained in Daniel 7:7. Now, great sea which Daniel saw is this world, and these 4 beasts are the 4 kingdoms of which indicated previously above. So he draws another context and brings us to another vision that speaks about these 4 kingdoms, and he reviews these 4 distinct beasts that emerge from the sea as described in the book of Daniel, and each beast possesses a unique characteristics, and their significance is decoded through the symbolism that is attributed to each of them. The lion with eagle's wings, and the bear and the leopard with 4 wings and heads, and then the formidable 4th beast that was represented of various kingdoms as well. Now, the interpretation here underscores for us the symbolic nature of the vision, with the great sea that signifies the world and the beast representing the various successive kingdoms as well. So what we see from this is this vision of Daniel that illustrates for us these various beasts and how the kingdom of men were being revealed in their various characteristics and their operations of power, and how they eventually came to an end as well. So let's go into each of these beasts to see how he demonstrated and illustrated each of them for us as well. Firstly, he says the beast in view. For about the first beast, he said it was like a lion and had the wings of an eagle. For the first beast is the kingdom of Babylon, which is like a lion. For Jeremiah wrote thus, saying about this: Israel is a lost sheep. Lions have caused them to go astray. The first, the kingdom of Assyria, devoured it, and then the last, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, was stronger than him in Jeremiah 50 from verse 17. Jeremiah called him a lion and said it had the wings of an eagle. Okay, in Daniel 7 verse 4. For it is written thus, that when Nebuchadnezzar went out to the desert with the beast, his hair grew like that of an eagle. And he said, I saw that its wings were plucked off, and it stood upon his feet like a man, and the heart of a man was given to it. For first, in the vision of the statue, he was compared to gold, which is better than everything that is administered in the world. For in the vision of the beast, he was compared to a lion, which is superior in his might to all other beasts. He was compared to an eagle, which is more glorious than all other birds. Whatever is written about him has been fulfilled in him. For the Lord said about him, I have put a yoke of iron upon the neck of all the nations, and they will serve the king of Babylon 70 years. I have given him the beast of the field and the birds of the heavens to serve him. In Jeremiah 28 verse 14 and in Jeremiah 25 verse 11. For when the king was like the head of the gold, men served him like a king. And when he went out to the desert, the beast served him as a lion. When his hair was like that of an eagle, the birds of heaven served him like an eagle. Okay, so he went on further to speak about Nebuchadnezzar, saying, when his heart was raised, and he did not know that the power had been given to him was from heaven, the yoke of iron was broken from the neck of the sons of men, and he went out with the beast, and instead of the heart of a king, the heart of a lion was given to him. And when he became exalted over the beast, the heart of a lion was removed from him, and the heart of a bird was given to him. And when the wings emerged from him like those of an eagle, he exalted himself over the birds, and then the wings were also plucked off, and a lowly heart was given to him. When he recognized that the Almighty had power in the kingdom of man to give it to whom he wishes, he then sang praises as a man. Wonderful. This is amazing. So we see this beautiful event of the life of King Nebuchadnezzar and his kingdom of Babylon revealed to us about when his pride grew and he failed to acknowledge that his authority came from heaven. The iron yoke was shattered from the necks of human beings. That iron yoke that was given to him to use to rule over the nations of the earth was shattered from the necks of humans and even rumored among the beasts. In place of the heart of a king, he acquired the heart of a lion. As he gained dominance over the kings and the beasts of the earth, the lion's heart was replaced by the heart of a bird. Subsequently, when his wings akin to that of an eagle appear, he arrogantly asserted authority over the birds. However, these wings were eventually plucked off as well, and he was bestowed with a humble heart. Finally, he realized that the Almighty is the one that holds power over the earthly kingdoms, granting authority as he deems fit as well. In this realization, he began to offer praises in the manner of a human being. So what we see from this illustrative symbolism of a ruler's transformation and subsequent recognition of divine authority is the text uses these vivid imageries to convey the ruler's changing disposition and understanding of power. Initially, the ruler's pride and ignorance of the source of his authority are highlighted. The ignorance led to a degradation of his status as he is compared to a lion, a bird, and even more humbly, his wings were removed as well. However, a pivotal moment that we see occur when he corresponds that ultimate power rests only with the Most High. This realization prompted a shift in his demeanor, resulting in an ultimate expression of praise, resembling that of a human being. What we see here is this passage metaphorically portrayed to us journey from hubris to humility and the eventual recognition of divine sovereignty of the Lord God in heaven. So he went on further to talk about the other beast, and he said, it is said about the second beast that it was like a bear and it stood upon one side in Daniel 7 verse 5. Because when the kingdom of the Media and the Persia arose, it arose in the east, and there were 3 ribs in his mouth in Daniel 7:5. Because the ram was butting to the west, and to the north, and to the south, and to the 3 winds of the heaven. He was holding these 3 winds, butted like the 3 ribs which were in the mouth of a bear, until the yelling goat came out of the west and smote the ram and snatched the ribs that were in his mouth. So he went on further to explain about this bear beast, revealing to us about the kingdom of this beast standing on one side, and this alludes to the rising of the kingdom of the Media and the Persia in eastern region. And the mention of the 3 ribs in his mouth can be correlated with the actions of the ram, which was pushing westward, northward, and southward towards the 3 different directions. The imagery of the beast's 3 ribs is akin to the ram's action, symbolizing his control over these 3 directions of influence. This continues until the various emergence of the yelling goat from the west, which defeated the ram and takes away the 3 ribs from his mouth. So what we see from this passage is the bears characteristics to the historical context of the rise of the Median and the Persian kingdom in the eastern direction, and the reference to the 3 ribs that is tied to the actions of the ram in the vision signifies his dominion over 3 different directions as well. And the emergence of the yelling goat from the west, representing Alexander the Great conquest, signifies the overthrow of the Median and the Persian kingdom and the removal of his control over the regions represented by the ribs. This interpretation connects the imagery of these visions with the various historical events, illustrating the shift of power dynamic among these various ancient kingdoms. So let's go on further to see what he said about the 3rd beast. So he went on further to say, it is said about the 3rd beast that it was like a leopard, which had on its side 4 wings of a bird, and this beast had 4 heads. The third beast was indeed Alexander the Macedonian, for he was strong like a leopard. The 4 wings and 4 heads which the beast had were because he gave the kingdom to his 4 friends to rule for him after him. When he came, he killed Darius and reigned in the place of him. So over here again, we see he draws the vision for us about the third beast that was likened to a leopard that had 4 wings of the birds of the air on its side, and he also had 4 heads as well. This depiction symbolizes Alexander the Macedonian, who is also called Alexander the Great, who was known for his swift and formidable conquests, much like a leopard. The imagery of 4 wings and 4 heads corresponds to the historical event. Alexander the Great, upon his death, his kingdom was divided among his 4 close associates, his friends, granting them authority over various regions. Now, the interpretation that we see is that this aligns with the reality that Alexander truly defeated Darius, assuming control over his kingdom as well. So we see the parallel that is drawn between Alexander's military powers and rapid conquest as well, and then the 4 wings and the 4 heads that symbolize the division of his empire among his 4 generals after his death. Okay, so we see this interpretation that connects this symbolic imagery of the vision to both historical occurrences, highlighting the role of Alexander the Great in the vision of Daniel, and then the subsequent division of his vast empire among his 4 friends. Okay, so let's go on further to see what he said about the 4th beast. On the 4th beast, he said, was dreadful, mighty, and exceedingly strong. It devoured, broke in pieces, and trampled with his feet anything that remained. Speaking from Daniel 7:7. Now, this is the kingdom of the Romans called sons of Esau, because after Alexander the Macedonian came to the throne, the kingdom of the Greeks came into being. Alexander also being from the Greeks, but the vision of the 3rd beast was fulfilled in him, because the 3rd and the 4th are one. Alexander ruled for 12 years, and there were the kings of the Greeks after Alexander. The kings were 17, and their years were 269 years old, from Seleucus, Nicanor to Ptolemy. The Caesars were from Augustus to Philip Caesar. According to the ecclesiastical history of Eusebius, chapter 6, from verse 34, Philip is the first Christian emperor. 27 kings, and their years are 293 years, and 18 years of Severus. So over here, it reveals to us the description about the 4th beast in the vision, characterized as is fearsome, immensely strong and destructive, devouring and breaking and trampling upon anything that remains on his path. And the 4th beast represents the Roman Empire, which is associated with the descendants of Esau. Following the rule of Alexander the Macedonian, the Greek Empire emerges, with Alexander himself being Greek as well. And then the vision of the 3rd beast, which resembled a leopard, is considered fulfilled in Alexander's reign. And this is a connection between the 3rd and the 4th beast. Alexander's rule lasted for 12 years, and subsequently there were 17 Greek kings who collectively ruled for a span of 269 years, from Seleucus, Nicanor to Ptolemy as well. So he also talked about the Roman Empire represented by the 4th beast, which began with the Caesars, starting from Augustus, extending to Philip Caesar as well. There were a total of 27 Roman emperors during this period, encompassing 293 years as well. Additionally, 18 years of Severus' reign are accounted for within this context as well. So what we see within this passage is interpretation of the 4th beast in Daniel's vision, identifying it as the Roman Empire, the description of the beast characteristics that is aligned with historical attributes to that of the Roman Empire, which was known for his power, his dominance, and his conquest what we see from this passage is it connects the reign of both Alexander the Great and the subsequent rise of the Greek and the Roman Empire, which highlights this chronological sequence of rulers and their respective durations, emphasizing and revealing to us the continuity of power transition within this various historical period as well. So let's go on further to see what he revealed of this demonstration concerning these various beasts as well. So he went on further and he said, for Daniel said, I was considering closely the 10 horns that were on the head of the beast, talking about the fourth beast now. The 10 horns were the 10 kings who shall have risen, in Daniel 7 from verse 8 and 24. At that time till Antichus, he said, a little horn came up from between these 10 as well, and 3 fell away from before it, in Daniel 7 verse 8. But when Antichus arose in the kingdom, he humbled 3 kings, in Daniel 7 verse 14, and exalted himself against the holy ones of the Most High and against Jerusalem. He polluted the sanctuary, in 2 Maccabees chapter 6 verse 2 to 4, and he abolished the sacrifice and the offerings for a week and half a week, which is 3.5 years. He brought fornicators into the house of the Lord, in 2 Maccabees chapter 6 from verse 4, and annulled the observance in the law, in 2 Maccabees chapter 6 verse 5. He killed the righteous men and handed them over to the birds of the heavens and to the beasts of the earth as well. So in closely observing Daniel's vision, he saw the 10 horns that were in the head of the fourth beast that symbolizes the various 10 kings that will rise. And these 10 kings span from the time of the vision until the era of Antiochus. Among them, a little horn emerges, displacing 3 of the 10 kings. This signifies the rise of Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes, who seizes power, subdues 3 kings. Antiochus, during his reign, displays hostility towards the holy people of the Most High God, talking about Israel and even Jerusalem. He defied the sanctuary and put an end to the sacrificial system and offerings for a period of 3.5 years, which correspond to a week and half a week that Daniel prophesied about. He introduced unclean practices into the house of the Lord, undermined the observance prescribed in the law. Antiochus also persecuted even righteous individuals, subjecting them to death by the hands of the birds and even the beast as well. So we see the interpretation that is offered of these 10 kings from the fourth beast that is revealed on the head of the fourth beast, and these 10 kings that represent the 10 horns that emerges over time as well. And then he talks about how Antiochus brought in his antagonism towards the holy people of Israel and the religious practices of Jerusalem, as well as his desecration of the sanctuary and suppression of the sacrificial system, which are fully detailed in the book of Maccabees as well. This reference to 3.5 years corresponds even to the duration of Antiochus' disruption as well. We see this interpretation that connects this symbolic imagery with historical events, specifically the reign of Antiochus IV and his impact on the Jewish community and their religious practices. Let's go on further to see what he said about this fellow. He went on to say, for in his days the word was fulfilled which David spoke, O God, the Gentiles have come into your inheritance and have defied your holy temple. They have made Jerusalem waste. They have given the corpse of your servant as food to the birds of the heaven, and the flesh of your righteous ones to the beasts of the earth. Their blood they have poured out like water around about Jerusalem. There was none to bury them. Speaking from Psalms 79, verse 1 to 3. For this was fulfilled in that time when Eleazar, the old and aged man, was killed, in 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 18 to 31, along with the 7 sons, the blessed Shamoni. And when Judah and his brothers were fighting against for the sake of their people, when they were dwelling in the hiding place, in 2 Maccabees chapter 5, verse 27. So over here, he draws this context with us to see the reign of Antiochus the fourth Epiphanes, the prophecy that was fulfilled spoken by David the king in Psalms 79 found its fulfillment in the life of Antiochus, how that the Gentiles invaded God's inheritance, defiling the holy temple, causing dissolution in Jerusalem. Now, however, this also speaks prophetically as well, even of the Antichrist, but we find the literal meaning being fulfilled in the life of Antiochus during his time as well, how that the corpse of God's servants were left as food for birds and even the beasts of the field, and their blood were spilled like water around the city, with none to provide proper burial for them. And this was also talked about even in the book of Revelation, how that this will happen before the second coming of Christ. So you can find this in Psalm 79 from verse 1 to 3. This prophecy was realized during the time when Eleazar, an elderly man, was martyred, along with the 7 sons of the blessed Shamuni, as documented in 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 18 to 31. Additionally, we can see that during this period, his son Judah and his brothers fought for the sake of their people while living in hiding places, as well as described in 2 Maccabees chapter 5 as well. We can see this illustration that found its fulfillment in the life of Antiochus IV Epiphanes, and it describes the fulfillment of the prophecy, highlighting the atrocity and the persecution that was carried out by the Gentile under Antiochus' rule as well. And he drew the reference to Eleazar and the 7 sons of Shamuni being martyred, and as well as Judas and his brothers that emerged in resistance to Antiochus while in hiding, illustrating the grim reality of the time and the challenges that were faced by the Jewish people. And the passage reveals to us the alignment between their prophetic words and the historical circumstances of this period as well. And it draws this reference to what David spoke several years before about this as well. Okay, so let's go on further to see what he said about this demonstration. He continues by saying, the horn made war with the scent at that time in Daniel 7 verse 21. Now he's revealing to us furthermore about this vision that will find fulfillment in the life of the Antichrist that will come later on. And it got the better of their strength. Antiochus, the wicked man, spoke words against the Most High and changed the times and season. In Daniel 7 verse 25, he abolished the covenant of Abraham and made null and void the Sabbath of the rest. He gave orders concerning the Jews that they should not circumcise. He, Daniel, said about him on this account, he will think to change the times, the seasons, and the laws, and they were given into his hands for a time, times and a half. Daniel 7 from verse 25. The time and half a time is the week, and a half, which is 10 years and a half as well. So over here, he highlights for us these oppressive actions of Antiochus the Epiphanes, who not only waged war against the faithful, but also sought to undermine the religious practices and the traditions of the Jewish people. His attempt to change the times and the seasons likely also referred to his effort to also alter the Jewish calendar and festivals as well, impacting the religious observance of the people. The reference to a time, times, and half a time, a 10.5 years, alluding to the period during which Antiochus exerted his control over the Jewish community, suppressing their customs and imposing his own decrees as well. This interpretation shed light on the historical conflict and the significance of the prophetic passage. So let's go on further to see what Aphrahat revealed to us about this individual. Again, he, Daniel, said, the kingdom took its seat and took away from him his dominion, to harm and to destroy him until the end of the kingdom in Daniel 7 verse 26. But the judgment came on Antiochus, a judgment from heaven in 2 Maccabees chapter 9 from verse 5 to verse 12. He fell ill with an obstinate and evil disease on account of his ill-smelling odor. No man came near to him, for worms were creeping and falling from him and eating his flesh, because he oppressed the worm of Jacob, speaking from Isaiah 41 verse 14. His flesh putrefied in his lifetime, because he caused the corpse of the children of Jerusalem to putrefy, and they were not buried. in 2 Maccabees chapter 9, verse 5 to 10. He became polluted in his own eyes because he defied the holy place of God. He prayed, but he was not heard because he did not hear the groaning of the righteous one whom he killed. He wrote, however, a letter and sent it to the Jews and called them my friends, but God did not have mercy on him. He died in his torment. In 2 Maccabees chapter 9, verse 28. Wow, what a sad end we see to the life of this fellow, as he revealed to us the judgment that was pronounced upon Antiochus, how it was fulfilled as Daniel prophesied, that his dominion was taken away to bring harm and destruction upon him, lasting even until the end of his kingdom. And this judgment was a divine retribution from heaven as well. Antiochus suffered greatly from severe and loathsome disease, which left him with a foul smell and odor, infected with worms that consumed even his flesh. This was a fitting punishment for a ruler who had oppressed the worm of Jacob, symbolizing the oppressed and the downtrodden people of Israel as well. The corruption of his flesh mirrored the decay that he had brought upon the corpse of the slain children of Jerusalem, whom he callously left unburied. His defilement of the sacred places and disregard for the cries of the righteous one led to his own spiritual and even physical decay as well. His prayers went unanswered, as he has ignored the plea of the righteous he had persecuted. In his desperation, he wrote a letter to the Jewish people, addressing them as friends, but even the plea for mercy was met with divine indifferences as well. Ultimately, what we see is that Antiochus met a miserable end, dying in torment as well, fulfilling the judgment prophesied by Daniel. This serves as a reminder of the consequences that befell those who oppress and persecute the innocent and the faithful. So you should be careful in what you engage in. There is a very sound warning. Very interesting how that mercy didn't find him despite his plea, because he knew what he was doing. Not that what he was doing was in ignorance, but he purposefully knew what he was doing. He knew that the places he was defiling were the places of the righteous and was the temple of the Lord. It's not that he was doing it out of ignorance, but because he was doing it out of the place of knowledge. So he didn't find mercy. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So let's go on further to see what Aphrahat said about the continuation in this demonstration of war. He said again, the saint of the Most High shall receive the kingdom. What shall we say about this? Did the children of Israel receive the kingdom of the Most High? Far from it. Or did that people come upon the cloud of heavens? This left them behind, for Jeremiah said about them, call them rejected silver. Wow, because the Lord had rejected them. In Jeremiah 6:30. Again he said, he will no more give heed to them. In Lamentation 4 verse 16. And Isaiah said about them, pass on, pass on. You should not come near to the unclean things. About the saints of the Most High, he, Daniel, also said about them thus, they shall inherit the kingdom forever. In Daniel 7 verse 27. For the rest a while from the burden of the kings and of the priests. Speaking from Hosea chapter 8 verse 10. That is, after the death of Antiochus till 62 weeks were completed, then the Son of Man came to set them free and to gather them together, but they did not receive him. Speaking from John 1 verse 11. So he continued by saying, for he, the Son of Man, came to get fruits from them, but they did not give to him. Speaking from Matthew 21 verse 34. Because their vines were from the vines of Sodom and from the plants of Gomorrah. Speaking from Deuteronomy 32:32. For the vineyard in it grew thorns, and it bore wild grapes. From Isaiah 5 verse 2. Their wines became vinegar, and their fruits bitter. In Deuteronomy 32:32. The thorns cannot become tender, neither does vinegar turn into the nature of wine, nor is bitterness changed to a sweet nature. So in this prophecy, he revealed to us from Daniel how that the saints of the Most High will eventually receive the kingdom, and indicating a future reality beyond the immediate historical context as well. And the question rises, did the children of Israel indeed receive the kingdom of the Most High? The answer is depicted as negative, drawing on the various verses from the scriptures that he revealed, from the likes of Jeremiah that referred to them as rejected silver, indicating their rejection by the Lord. And this sentiment is also echoed by the prophet Isaiah, who instructed them to stay away from unclean things as well. Additionally, Isaiah compared their vineyard to thorn-covered wasted land and their grapes to wild ones. And Deuteronomy also describes their vines as being from the vines of Sodom and the plants of Gomorrah, producing bitter fruits as well. Their inability to bear good fruit is also finally illustrated by the parable of the vineyard in the New Testament by the Lord Jesus Christ himself. Now, we see from these various passages that acknowledges a period of respite and relief for the saints as well, a time of relief from the burdens inspired by the impositions of the kings and the princes that he revealed from Hosea chapter 8 verse 10, which is also attributed to the intervals between the death of Antiochus and the completion of the 62 weeks before the arrival of the Son of Man, referring to the Lord Jesus Christ that came to set them free and gather them together. But they rejected him, according to John 1 verse 11. What we see in the analogy of this thorn and vineyard also revealed to us the unchanging nature of the people of Israel's spiritual condition. Just as thorns cannot become tender, vinegar cannot turn into wine, bitterness cannot change into sweetness, the people's hearts, the people of Israel's heart remained unrepentant and obstinate. This serves as a sobering reflection on the unyielding nature of the human heart, reflecting therefore on the consequences of rejecting divine grace. Let's go on further to see what he said concerning this. He went on further and he said, "For Isaiah constituted beforehand the men from Judah as judges over them, for in them was planted a new and beloved planting. But these judges are those who sit on the 12th seat and judge their 12 tribes," speaking from Matthew 19 verse 28. And he said to the judges thus, "Judge between me and my vineyard, O men, judge. What more shall have been done to my vineyard that I failed to do? Behold, I planted vine shoot, but they became a strange vine. I put the fence around it, the watchers of heaven, and built its towers, the holy temple. And I dug its winepress, the baptisms of the priests. I brought down rain upon it, the words of my prophet. I pruned it and plowed it from the works of the Amorites. I waited that it might bear grapes, righteous grapes, but it brought forth wild grapes, iniquity and sin. I waited for righteous judgment, but there was seizing by force, for righteousness, but there was wailing." Speaking from Isaiah 5 from verse 1 to 6 and Jeremiah 2 verse 21. So over here we see how he continues in his lamentation about the children of Israel, and he brought again this imagery of a vineyard that is used to symbolize the relationship between God and the people of Judah. And the prophet Isaiah in his prophetic message portrays the people of Judah as a vineyard that God lovingly planted and cared for. He provided all that was needed for the vineyard to bear good fruit. He offered protection as a fence, a strong foundation tower as well, cleansing and nourishment, rain, and then he offered guidance and correction, pruning and plowing, and patiently waiting for the righteous actions to be produced by these people. In all of these, he talks about how that he planted a fence as regarding the watchers of heaven, and we can see that fulfilled in the likes of Angel Michael and the various angels that are with him accompanying the nation of Israel. Then he talks about building the towers that refers to the holy temple. Then he talks about the wine press, and he talks about how the immersion of the priest to lead them as well. Then he talks about how he brought rain, which were the words of the prophet, the teachings of the prophet, and he pruned it and plowed it to remove the works of the Amorites as well. And he waited, and it bears forth grapes, for it to bear forth grapes of righteousness rather, but it bears forth wild grapes. And then, however, God's investment and effort, the vineyard produced wild and undesirable grape, representing iniquity and sin. And we can see this reflects the disobedient and unrighteousness of the people. God's expectation was that the vineyard, the people of Judah, would bear forth the fruits of righteousness. Instead, they brought forth wrongdoings as well. The judges mentioned in this context were likened to a reference to 12 apostles whom the Lord Jesus appointed to judge and to lead the 12 tribes of Israel. They were entrusted with the responsibility of guiding the people in the ways of righteousness and judgment. And the passage also draws on the language of Jeremiah, who also lamented on the people's unfaithfulness by comparing them to a degenerate vine. Both Isaiah and Jeremiah conveyed a message of disappointment and sorrow over the failure of the people to live up to their divine calling and produce the desired fruit of righteousness. What we see in this passage is the theme of God's faithfulness to the very nation of Israel in all the ages, even down to the Son of Man, the arrival of the Son of Man, and yet they refuse to respond appropriately to him, highlighting the need for their repentance and a return to righteousness. But eventually, they brought forth the grapes of wickedness instead of the grapes of righteousness when Christ came to them. What a wonderful illustration review here by Aphrahat. Furthermore, let's see the heart war that was going on with these people of Israel. He said, here, bring more to you on the contextual view and understanding of the demonstration of Aphrahat in other subsequent demonstration as well. Speaking about the demonstration of humility, demonstration of pastor, and even the demonstration of the Son of God, and even the resurrection of the dead as well. So much more to come on the demonstrations of Aphrahat. Full clips on YouTube on Scriptural Understanding. You are blessed. This is the Conscious